The way businesses are moving money is changing, and it's changing fast. AI is transforming payments, startups are scaling at record pace, and Asia Pacific has the potential to shape the future of global commerce. But with all this innovation comes complexity. How can AI help businesses optimize payments and other money movements? What does adaptive pricing mean for revenue growth? Will stablecoins and real-time payments redefine cross-border transactions? Today we are joined by Paul Harapin. To break this all down, we would love to figure out how AI-driven payments, automation, and financial infrastructure are changing the way money moves. But before we get to that, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Before we jump in, let's thank the sponsor of this episode, Dr. Tech. Dr. Tech can help you build your e-commerce store and start selling quickly online and on social media in just a few days. And Dr. Tech stores are gorgeous, modern, and responsive. They are fully customizable and simple to use. Dr. Tech stores have hundreds of included optimizations that will help you sell more online, and a support team that can answer all of your questions. With Dr. Tech, there are no hidden costs, no commissions on sales, no add-ons to buy. Everything is included in one simple subscription. So go to hello.dr.tech/ATP to get a free trial and start building your store. You can find the link in the description below. Also, Dr. Tech is offering a special deal to the listeners of the Asia Tech podcast. After your free trial, you can get your first full month for only $1. To get this deal, simply type ATP into the live chat, and they will send you a special promo code. Thanks again to Dr. Tech for sponsoring, and now let's get back to the show. Paul, thank you so much for coming back to the show. I really appreciate it. It's been a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Michael. We had a great year last year. Team's growing. Business is great, and our customers are, expanding their businesses. So couldn't be better.
Sounds awesome. Look, what is it like knowing that Stripe has processed 1.4 trillion, that's with a T, in total payment volume in 2024? Seriously, it's such a big number. Like, it's equivalent to almost 1.3% of global GDP. What does it feel like knowing all of that is going through your systems?
It's surreal sometimes when you think of it. Particularly here in APAC, where we represent 40% of global GDP. So what I see every day is just the tremendous opportunity in front of us. So as a team, we're really proud that we're growing in this way. 38% last year, up at 1.4 trillion. So it's quite phenomenal. The thing that I really love is that we're helping everyone from the largest corporations in the world to SaaS platforms, all the way down to the fast-growing tech startups and someone starting a small business selling T-shirts from their home. The breadth of what we do is quite unique and quite phenomenal. So from that, it's really a payoff of a lot of the investments we've made around our technology, around AI over the past 12 months. And on the AI front, just as a point, because I'm sure it'll come up in the conversation, that part of our customer base are growing 7 times as much as all the companies in the S&P 500. So as a data point of where money is flowing and where people are interested, that's really key. And we're really happy that not quite all, but almost all of the fast-growing AI startups are leveraging Stripe for their growth.
So can we dig a little bit deeper into this? Because the AI is one of the things that I do want to talk about. What kinds of AI-driven innovations do you think will have significant impact on payments and financial services, particularly in APAC? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah. I think we're seeing similar innovation to what's happened with a lot of SaaS platforms, actually, in that we're all well aware of the ChatGPTs, OpenAI's perplexities and so on, allowing you to come in and really do a bunch of things. But I think there's a number of areas that we're seeing strong growth in. Like the SaaS platforms, vertical AI is going to be an area of strong innovation. And so that's companies in the past have started, like a Salesforce or some of the restaurant platforms like Toast in the US or Me and You in Australia as vertical, as a horizontal area. And then, Salesforce as a horizontal, and then some of the restaurant infrastructures as platforms as vertical. And we're seeing something similar start in AI. So that vertical AI, where a company is specializing in a particular area. There's one company called DeepScribe, which is really focused on healthcare. So it uses AI to transcribe patient conversations into accurate clinical notes. Studio for real estate uses AI to create sales presentations for real estate agents based on the property they're presenting and the uniqueness of those properties. Sketch Pro for architectural requirements, and so on. So that vertical AI, we see more and more cases. I spoke to a startup in Australia the other day that's doing the same in the legal profession. And then the other one is AI agents. I think we've been optimizing payments for 15 years now. And with our Stripe Agent Developer software toolkit, which was released only a few months ago, we're already seeing the same come through different types of agent software. So what that toolkit allows an organization to do, particularly around large language models, is to interact with our payment and financial services API. So they can build applications where AI agents can manage various interactions, financial tasks, invoicing, payment processing, card issuing, all within a chatbot of the agent interface. And that we're seeing that downloaded 6,000 times a week already. So I can see that just by the interest of the downloads is going to be of tremendous growth for our customers on AI.
Can we talk about this? Because this agentic AI is actually really interesting to me. I would say like 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, there were platforms like if this, then that, right? So you could do
Yeah.
some types of automations. But looking back, it was really basic, right? Because it was just
Yep.
like, if you see this trigger, then do this thing. But agentic
Yep.
AI feels different to me, right? Maybe you can just explain to some people who aren't 100% sure what it means, like how it's different than those types of platforms where you could automate some things, but it wasn't thinking for you per se, right? Because that's what agentic AI is doing at some level, yeah?
Yeah, it's moving away from the rules based. We have a certain set of rules, and if someone asks this, do that. But as you know, conversations don't always go that way. It may not be phrased the same way. It may be a unique question. So leveraging those large language models, everything the customer organization has at their disposal around their unique business, plus a lot of data that's correlated from other areas, it allows the agent chatbot to really interact as effectively as possible. So it's not a pre-built rules engine; it's actually rules built on the fly based on the data that's there, including getting to a point where if it was a sales interaction, closing that transaction, taking the payment, and shipping the item out. So really clever uses of AI around particular agent use cases, be it support. And some of those companies are offering payment based on resolution times and improvement in SLAs and customer sat and so on, that can all be managed through the agent and the AI model that's being leveraged.
So I'm not sure if we ever mentioned this to you. But we actually run another platform called Dr. Tech, and that has 2,000 websites on it that all use Stripe for payments. I'm curious to
Right. So
see.
thank you.
You're welcome, but I'm curious to see like how all of that is going to help those people that are using that platform on the agentic AI side kind of automate some of the stuff that they're doing. Is it integrated or can it be integrated into other? You mentioned Salesforce, so I know that a lot of your clients probably also use Salesforce and use some of the startups that you. Is there a way for the agentic AI to understand all of that connectivity and then build processes around all of that? So, if you do this sale, make sure it gets entered into Salesforce and that type of thing?
Yeah, I think within an organization, their back-end systems and the integrations they have there can be totally leveraged. So part of it would be, as you make the sale, leverage that data to post in the CRM record for that particular customer as part of the process driven aspect of AI. And it's a particularly exciting area, and I think we'll see more and more of this develop over time. Our role in that side of things is making sure that as people interact and wish to send an invoice or create a subscription or issue a credit card for one of their customers that is purchasing or engaging with them, that can all happen within the same framework without having to then involve a human, unless, of course, it's something that can't be resolved at that point in time.
Do you see a lot of differences in the way the AI stuff is getting used on your platform in different countries in the region, right? I mean, I'll say this a lot, but like Vietnam is not Indonesia. Indonesia is not Singapore. Singapore is not the
Yeah.
Philippines. You see different uses and use cases in different countries?
I think there's cultural differences in how organizations look at things and how business happens in a particular region. But overall, I think what we're seeing is that the AI platforms wish to, one, build the right subscription models, be it I'm going to charge you a monthly fee, or I'm going to charge you based on usage of the platform. So if you use this much, we charge you based on that usage. Or in the agentic frame, being able to engage in a financial transaction, regardless of sort of the cultural usages and impacts of AI. So we're seeing a lot of similarities, other than what you would normally expect to be slightly different. And obviously, some countries are adapting much faster than others. Certainly, the American global companies are rolling out through APAC really quickly, and quite a few of our APAC customers are leveraging for their existing systems, but also expanding within the region and globally as well.
You know, you mentioned this earlier, just kind of in passing, that Stripe's been building technology for 15 years. And when I think about companies that started at the same time that you did, like I know how much the tech changes, like every cycle, like the tech changes. But I feel like you guys have done a really good job of like not staying wed to like old technologies and implementing new stuff. And I'm just curious how, like, as a firm, you have the ability to do that in ways that maybe some other companies don't. You know what I mean? Because if you're stuck on legacy systems, even for a company that's 15 years old, you're going to get left behind, but you're obviously not. So what are you guys doing to make sure that that doesn't happen?
I believe it's a cultural aspect of Stripe, driven from the founders down, which is a very user first culture, which is a combination of really listening to our customers and what they need and where they're seeing they want to take their businesses and what's holding them back or blocking that growth. And that permeation through our company, from engineering to sales. We have really strong feedback loops from the go-to-market teams who are talking to thousands of customers every day back into the product team, which spurns idea product. We have customers on every week to our internal fireside with our executive team, and so that cultural aspect allows us to develop, and then lots of really smart people here at Stripe that can take that and build on. Our billing software, or what we call our revenue and financial automation suite, is one of those things. We built that based on an obvious need from our customers to be able to create subscription models of different types, issue invoices, charge tax in 100 countries around the world, use the data, reconcile with bank accounts, and so on. And that billing software now is rated by Forrester and Gartner as the leading platform in the world, with over 500 million annual recurring revenue run rate. So again, just an example, a part of the adjunct innovation that we're building, not to mention the innovation within the payments landscape itself.
Do you use AI? This is a little bit meta, right? But I like to ask companies this. You're using AI to build tools for your customers. And I want to talk about startups in a little bit because I find that really interesting as well. But do you also use it internally to optimize what you're doing, from not just from a development standpoint, but from a like understanding the market and using all the internal data that you have to then run that through some AI modules to understand where we need to go, what we need to build, and what we need to do? Does that make sense? And does everybody have access to it so that they can then optimize themselves and what their roles are?
Yeah, totally. As you mentioned, we've been using AI for many years, particularly across our fraud tools for customers, and we we look at, you know, trillions of transactions over the past few years. So it's a very unique data model that we can leverage. But internally as well, yes, we have our own internal models. Every employee has access to that. We use it in different ways, from optimizing code development to, you know, getting a document reviewed and written the right way. And so it's becoming ingrained in our organization in many ways, internally and externally.
Is there a, what's the right way to say this? Policy is the wrong word. Is there a strategy internally, right? Because a lot of innovation does happen outside every company, right? Not just outside of Stripe. Do you have a methodology and a mechanism to deal with startups per se? And if you do, like, how does that work? How do they interact with you? And how do they connect with you to make sure that what they're building is actually relevant to what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, the way we structure is really around segments. So we have a whole team in every region with feedback loops centralized as part of an operating model for startups, for SMBs, for large traditional enterprises, and for platforms. So across all of those areas, especially startups, which has always been the lifeblood of Stripe from the beginning, even though we now support half of the Fortune 100, very large global companies as well. That feedback loop allows us to really be on the bleeding edge and take that feedback from our users and solve their business problems within the framework of what Stripe's trying to do, be it internal or through acquisitions, as we've done recently on the stablecoin area you mentioned up front.
Yeah, I want to talk about stablecoin in a little bit, but I want to talk about alternative payment methods first, if you don't mind. We see digital wallets. This is not a new thing per se, but we talk a lot in this region about financial inclusion, right? There's a whole scope of people that are either underbanked or not so much non-banked anymore, to be fair, right? But how do you position yourself, Stripe, to keep up with all of this stuff when, like, it's there are alternative payments that are taking place out there? They're not happening from like this bank to that bank per se.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think for us, we're particularly at 1.4 trillion in transactions. You know, we're right on the edge here, especially for us here in APAC. I mean, arguably, the real innovation around these payment methods is coming out of Southeast Asia, India, and permeating through other markets around the world. And because we're here in Asia leading this global financial transformation, if you want to use it that way, encompassing digital currencies, digital wallets, real-time payments. I was just in Japan last week, and you jump out of the taxi, you can pay with PayPay, and hop out of the taxi, or a range of other payment methods, real time. I think Stripe make sure that we can support all of our customers in those countries with the key payment methods that are required. And if you extend what that means in APAC, we have 4 of the 5 largest global real-time payment methods in the world. India, obviously, number one. The UPI was give or take 10 billion UPI transactions last year, forecast to be around 100 billion by 2030, maybe sooner. Brazil with Pix, which, as you know, was a close collaboration with the Indian government initially. Thailand with Prompt Pay, South Korea, and then China. So overall, we've processed in this region, Asia Pacific's processed over $185 billion in real-time payments, and growing super fast. I think the challenges that we start to see is that the rails for these real-time payments are being built bilaterally across the world, but each connection country to country, as we see here in Singapore, is being built one by one. So Singapore to Thailand was a one by one link, as is Singapore now, or Pay2 now into Pay Now into UPI. So makes speed to scale an issue. some inconsistent user experiences and interfaces for consumers, a little bit different in every country. So we're trying to work on how we solve that problem at an aggregate level by investing more in technologies that complements the real-time payments, and by working with various global central banks, particularly here in APAC. So we just want to make it easier for sellers and merchants, that when they want to sell, their user can use the payment method they want, and it's a frictionless experience. So continues to evolve.
So do we think it's so hard for me to put this into words, but do we really believe that connecting UPI, connecting Pay Now, connecting Prompt Pay, connecting Pix, right, even though it's on the other side of the world, is going to unlock even more cross-border commerce, right? Because even now, it's still hard to pay for things in Singapore. It's still hard to pay for me for things in India. But once those rails are connected, it's going to have to unlock, even on a B2C basis, right? Mm-hmm. Much more commerce. Is that what you're thinking as well?
I believe so. Yeah, and if you look at credit cards, right, we can travel pretty much every country in the world, take out your local credit card and transact in that country, and somehow it appears on your statement and and comes out of your out of your bank account when you eventually pay the bill. And I think by being able to extend that to other payment methods that people are familiar with in an easy way, will continue to drive cross-border commerce, both online and in person, because you may go to a country and they're only taking prompt pay at that particular person stall or shop, and if you don't have that payment method, then you have to go and find cash and pay that way. They may not take credit cards. So I think the same flow will occur. And again, that's why Stripe's really trying to support all of those, both in our online platform, but also in our in-person terminal platform.
You know, I was surprised a couple of years ago when I went to Singapore. You know, I go there, I film, I do business. I always stay in the same hotel, which means I always go to the same restaurant. And at one point, I went to that restaurant with cash. I was prepared. I went to the ATM, and they said, "We don't take cash." And at that point, Prompt Pay was not connected to Pay Now, so I couldn't scan. But I'm guessing I'll be in Singapore, I think not next week, but the week after. Hopefully I'll be able to pay by just scanning. And that would make my life 1,000 times easier, because in Thailand, I never use cash. I don't pay for the BTS with cash. I don't pay for taxes with cash. So I'm hoping that happens. I want to cover
that evolution is moving so fast. You know, even in India, you know, where you could buy, you know, some tea from a tea wallah in the street. They'll do it on UPI. And a friend was telling me the other day that, you know, in India it's common that you know, they bring a cow around for people for their morning prayers, and previously that was paid in rupees. Well, now the cow comes with a scan code for UPI or RuPay, and you can pay it that way. So that's just an example of how it's permeating all aspects of society in many of our regional countries.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a cow in Thailand, but it's like even the motorcycle taxi guys literally have a laminated QR code. They're just like, "Sure, you can pay me this way."
Yep.
It's
scan
amazing.
The back of my helmet.
Yeah, scan the back of my helmet. But I love that because it makes it really defines this term frictionless. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I do love that. Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about stable coins? Like, I don't interact with stable coins at all, but just walk me through what you're seeing, why it matters, and particularly in countries with like really big remittance flows or limited access to traditional banking. Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah. Well, as I said, I was in Japan last week, so I'll start off with an example that might frame it. And in talking to this particular prospect CEO, we were discussing some of their business problems. Now, what they do is sell secondhand Japanese cars, hundreds of thousands of them, all around the world, primarily emerging markets. So Africa, the Caribbean, some parts of Asia, but mostly Africa, Caribbean. And their problem is that their customers have to take bags of US dollars to pay for the car, generally with a security guard and a machine gun, he was telling me.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of friction in the payment process for him. And then getting those US dollars back to Japan is also full of friction.
Yeah.
And of course, if the stable coin was able to be leveraged for US stable coin, they can still take the transaction with US dollars, have it in stablecoin, and have it immediately accessible elsewhere. So, there's a real world example that I spoke to my customer about last week. And I think, again, Asia's leading here as well as many other markets. I think people are referring to Asia as the CBDC capital of the planet. Uh, so there's lots of interest here. Governments, I think, will be quick to adopt as merchants are becoming now, and I think we'll see, even more developments. Our acquisition of Bridge recently, which is the stripe of stablecoin, if you like, or certainly a world-leading orchestration platform, allows business to do everything with stablecoin. So even where Stripe may not be present in a country, we can enable payment via stablecoin now, which is fantastic.
So how does it work? If I'm in Africa or if I'm in some other country, there's some other developing country, right? How do I get access to the stable coins? If now I have bags of dollars, which is, again, it's unsafe, and I don't want machine guns in my life at any point in time, how do I get that from that into a stable coin so then I can pay somebody in Japan for their used car?
Yeah, well, they can find their local crypto exchange, if you like. They can use their local currency, say Naira in Nigeria, to then transfer that digitally. In some cases, it will be still physical, but they don't have to go through the issue of changing to US dollars, cash dollars, and then transferring it over. So it'll be a different process in every country, a bit easier here in Singapore or Australia, for example, than some of those countries. But once done and the stable coin is there, it can be then used to purchase via the merchant, whatever particular goods they're selling, be it locally or cross border.
This idea of CBDC, right? So central bank digital currencies means that at some level these things are going to be programmable, right? So you can take this and buy that, or taxes can get automatically taken out. There are a whole bunch of different things you can do once currencies um, are programmable. What else do you think is coming up? Like if you look out over the next 3 to 6 years, what other macro trends are you seeing that are going to impact the way payments and money movements get made? And then I'll let you go.
I think there's, apart from just making money movement cheaper, faster, programmable within the systems that are there, I think what I'm passionate really about is how this helps transform business models. And we're seeing that in some of our largest customers here in APAC already. So due to building out this economic infrastructure or software-defined financial services, be it traditional money movement, uh, that's going to enable this transformation. I'll give you an example. The World Economic Forum predicts that 70% of new business value over the next decade will be via digital platforms that connect buyers, sellers, and other market participants. So for us, we're seeing that in a lot of areas like Toyota, Zara, and so on. So that that's one aspect of that business transformation. The fundamentals for stablecoin adoption, I think, are really just starting to fall in place. So we're excited, we're excited to see that. They're decentralized, they have open access, so they're by nature globally available day one, they're programmable, and most importantly, as the name would suggest, they're stable. Um, Nigerian currency, I can't remember the exact number, but it's devalued significantly over the past short period of time. And so you buy one thing one day and the next day it's worth 30% less. And so being able simply to say, okay, well, this is the cost. It's converted to stablecoin. It's now USD, and it will fluctuate only with the US dollar. Just allows businesses to be really secure in the transactions, particularly when it's outside outside of their own countries. And so, I think that a lot of these businesses will use stablecoins to manage corporate treasury. I mean, it's amazing that even some of the world's largest organizations still have problems with corporate treasury and moving money from one country to another. It's expensive, sometimes extremely difficult. People immigrating can use them for remittance. In Singapore, we see a lot of the people sending money back home all the time. Citizens in those countries, it may not even be related to transacting. It can just be that the citizens of those countries with unstable currencies can ensure their savings are kept relatively stable and dependable. And of course, the payments are part of it. I mean, one example is SpaceX uses Bridge to repatriate funds from sales in many of these markets like Argentina, Nigeria, and so on, where their products are widely used. So it's super exciting and really just getting going, and that's why we're really excited to have Bridge as part of the Stripe family. We're seeing lots of customers come to us to want to talk about this from every country already.
I can imagine in the current environment that the use of stablecoins is going to grow even faster than was previously expected. I just want to ask you one more thing again before I let you go. If you're seeing $1.4 trillion of transactions in a year, it's just such a large number. You must internally be able to see other types of trends in money movement and even in stablecoin usage and movement like that. All of the transactions that Stripe is doing does not happen in dollars. I mean, that's obvious, right? Yep. But just so the audience can understand this, do you think, just from a stablecoin standpoint, right, that there's going to be some competition between a euro stablecoin, a won stablecoin, and a dollar stablecoin, just so people can be sure? Because the more stable that each one of those three currencies are, which is where most of the world's trade takes place, that's going to actually happen. Are you seeing those types of trends in the $1.4 trillion worth of transactions that you're doing?
I think, our transactions at this point, mostly standard payments transactions, not stable coins. I think on the stable coin side, you probably see it start to reflect the real dollar or euro scenario, where the US is the primary currency of global trade.
Reserve currency, yeah.
But that could change. That could change, and particularly with a lot of global uncertainty, I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. But with stablecoin being able to tag against, euro, yuan, Aussie dollar, whatever, I think you'll see a lot more leverage there across our 1.4. What we do get to see, and we're looking at more and more, is early indications of economic activity. Where are things speeding up? Where are things slowing down? Is it country-based, region-based? Is it segment-based? We can obviously see AI is growing at a tremendous rate, but we also get a slight insight into the global economy as well once you're at that level.
Yeah, this is something I just want people to think about, because you've made me think about it just now. I think over the next 15 years, as Stripe continues to grow, just the number of the data that you're going to be able to gather and the things you're going to be able to understand about currency flows globally is just going to continue to grow as more and more people use the platform. And it doesn't, I'm indifferent to like how they use it, whether it's a stable coin, a cash currency,
Yep.
credit card, it doesn't really matter to me. But I'd be interested to see like what other types, and it's not a question, it's more just for people to think about. Because you'll have so much knowledge and you'll understand currency flows maybe better than anybody else in the world. What other types of services and products will you be able to build just based on having that knowledge? And that to me is really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, totally exciting, and being able to build that in a data-driven way, and importantly for us, share that information back to our customers so they're ahead of the trends as well, is really helpful. So if somebody says to us, well, for me in my industry, how am I looking compared to my global segment?
Right.
We could say, well, you do this, and we've got tens of thousands of customers that do this, and you look like you're about 80%, of 100%. You're not the best, but you're not far off it. Being able to give that sort of information back to our customers will be really, really exciting. And I think you'll see with the way we're using AI and the volume of data that we have access to, we'll be able to provide some of those aggregated insights to many of our customers, which will also impact product development strategies as well.
Yeah, and also where they're going to make their investment decisions. Okay, I will let you go because I could go on and on this. I think that's super exciting, actually. Paul Harapin, thank you so much for coming back to the Asia Tech podcast to do this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Anytime. It's always good to have a chat with you.
Thank you.